Chapter 8. An Extraordinary Life. At the Paralympic Games in 2012, Stephen said to the athletes, "Look up at the stars. Don't look down at your feet. What do you see? Try to understand it. Why is the universe there? What does it do?" He thought about these questions all his life. On the 14th of March 2018, Stephen Hawking died at home at the age of 76. 55 years before, his doctors said to him, "You will only live for a few more years." But he had a long life. A short time before he died, he said, "I was 21 and I had no hope. Everything after that has been special." In his life, Stephen helped millions of people to understand more about physics and the universe. He also showed that we still need to learn a lot more about it. I'm happy if I have added something to our understanding of the universe. Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking, a timeline. 1942. Stephen Hawking is born in Oxford on the 8th of January. He is the first child of Frank and Isabel Hawking. The family are living in London at the time. 1950. The Hawking family leave London to go and live in St Albans. They buy a house there. 1952. Stephen starts as a student at St Albans School. He makes some good friends there and becomes interested in maths and physics. 1959. At the age of 17, Stephen becomes a student at the University of Oxford. 1962. Stephen travels to Iran with a friend by bus and train. They are in a bus accident in an earthquake, and his family do not hear from him for 10 days. 1962. Stephen leaves Oxford with a very good degree and starts to do research in cosmology at the University of Cambridge. 1962. Stephen meets Jane Wilde at a friend's party in Cambridge. He soon falls in love with her. 1963. Doctors tell Stephen that he has motor neurone disease and has only a few years to live. He is very unhappy for some time, but then starts work again. 1965. Stephen marries Jane Wilde in St Albans. He can still walk, but it is not easy. 1966. Stephen starts a research job at the University of Cambridge. 1967. Stephen and Jane's first child, Robert, is born. 1969. Stephen and Jane's second child, Lucy, is born. Lucy later writes some books for children with her father. 1974. Stephen becomes a member of the Royal Society. 1974. Stephen works for a year at the California Institute of Technology. 1977. Stephen becomes a professor of physics at the University of Cambridge. 1979. Stephen and Jane's third child, Timothy, is born. 1979. Stephen becomes a professor of mathematics at the University of Cambridge. 1985. Stephen cannot speak anymore. At first, he points to letters on a card. Then he starts to use a special speaking machine. A computer controls it. 1988. Stephen writes A Brief History of Time from the Big Bang to Black Holes. Millions of people buy the book. He becomes very famous, and people see him on television and in the newspapers. 1995. Stephen divorces Jane Wilde and marries Elaine Manson. 1997. Stephen travels to Antarctica. 1999. Stephen is in The Simpsons for the first time. He uses the voice from his speaking machine. 2002. Stephen goes up in a balloon for his 60th birthday. 2007. Jane Wilde writes a book about her life with Stephen. Later, the book becomes the film The Theory of Everything. 2007. Stephen goes to the Kennedy Space Center to fly in zero gravity. He loves it. 2009. Stephen goes to the White House in Washington, D.C. President Barack Obama gives him the Presidential Medal of Freedom. 2012. Stephen speaks at the opening of the London Paralympic Games. He speaks about science and the universe. 2014. The film The Theory of Everything, with Eddie Redmayne and Felicity Jones, tells the story of Stephen's life. 2015. Working with Yuri Milner, Stephen helps to start 10 years of research into intelligent life in the universe. The work will finish in 2025. 2018. Stephen dies at home in Cambridge. He is 76 years old. Penguin Readers: The Extraordinary Life of Stephen Hawking. Kate Scott. Level 3. Adapted by Nick Bullard. Illustrated by Esther Moles. Series editor Sorrel Pitts. Read by Nigel Pilkington. Copyright Penguin Books Limited, 2020.